The Cub in the Jungle. Planet Varric 4, Day 43 after crash. The jungle pressed in around Commander Erik Thorne like a living wall. Vines thick as his forearm dangled from massive trees, and the canopy above filtered the twin suns into shifting shadows. His armor plating was scarred, one boot was duct-taped together, and his ration packs were long gone. He hadn't seen another human face since the crash. Every sound made his nerves twitch. Insects here clicked instead of buzzing. The birds didn't sing. They mimicked other predators to confuse or lure prey. And sometimes, when the jungle went dead quiet, Erik knew something with teeth far too large was nearby. His scanner beeped faintly, an edible root nearby. Good. He knelt and started digging when a faint rustle caught his ear. Then a soft whimper. He turned, slow and deliberate, drawing the dull knife from his belt. The sound came again, a pitiful, almost infant-like cry. Pushing through a wall of ferns, Erik found the source. A small alien creature lay curled beneath a root arch. It looked feline, maybe canine in build, full-limbed, digitigrade legs, with sleek silvery fur patterned like a snow leopard. But its eyes, wide, green, and intelligent, watched him not with fear, but exhaustion. One paw was bent at a wrong angle. Its ribs showed beneath its skin. It tried to hiss, but no strength came. Erik sighed. Great. Now I'm adopting strays. He knelt and pulled out his last ration bar, crumbling half into his hand and offering it slowly. The cub sniffed, then lunged forward and devoured the food in a frenzy. Its eyes locked on him the entire time, not wild, but calculating. Guess you're not some jungle critter after all, Erik muttered. Smart eyes. Hungry. Hurt. Someone left you to die. He gently extended his hand toward its injured leg. It flinched but didn't bite. That was trust, or at least desperation. He splintered the limb with a branch and some gauze. The cub watched, chest heaving, then let out a soft trill, some kind of thanks. Erik leaned back. Well, little buddy, that's all I've got. Don't expect me to carry you. The cub's eyes blinked slowly. Then it stood, wobbling. It pressed its head briefly against Erik's leg in a gesture that was unmistakably affectionate. Then it darted off into the jungle, vanishing like a shadow among shadows. Erik stood there a moment, stunned. Well, that was weird. He turned to leave, when the jungle suddenly fell silent. No clicks, no chirps, just stillness. Instinct kicked in like a switchblade. Erik crouched low, knife ready, eyes scanning the tree line. He didn't hear footsteps, he felt them. Tremors in the soil, deliberate and heavy. Something was approaching, fast. Then the undergrowth exploded. Out stepped a towering figure, 7 feet tall, clad in armor made of bone and dark metal. It moved like a panther, but walked upright. A long, striped tail flicked behind it. Its face was a fierce blend of beauty and beast, feline, intelligent, and deadly. Eyes burning gold, lips curled in a snarl. Clawed gauntlets glinted in the sunlight. She was the tigress, and she was pissed. Erik didn't move. He'd seen enough battlefield standoffs to know one wrong twitch could end in blood. The alien tigress growled low in her throat and advanced, her eyes locked on him. Behind her, the cub suddenly reappeared, leaping into the clearing with a squeal, placing itself between Erik and the tigress. It pressed itself against Erik again, pairing. The tigress froze. Her snarl faded. Her eyes narrowed, confused. She looked from the cub to Erik. Back again. She slowly straightened, claws retracting. Then, in a voice rough but shaped around the edges of language, she spoke. You feed my blood. Erik blinked. Yeah. The tigress stayed at him, her chest rising and falling. Her expression shifted from rage to calculation. Then she said something Erik didn't expect to hear. Something that chilled him far more than any roar or threat. Then you belong. The tigress warrior. Planet Varric 4, edge of the lower ridges. Erik kept his knife low but ready. The alien tigress circled him like a storm-given flesh, muscles taut beneath armor, her golden eyes never blinking. Her fur rippled with every step, each movement a silent warning. The cub, his accidental little companion, stood between them, purring and nudging at her leg. She towered over Erik, head tilted, watching him as if unsure whether to strike or salute. The moment stretched. "You feed Rika," she growled finally, voice deep and gravel-edged. Erik blinked. "Rika." The cub chirped in response. It seemed to be its name. "Yes," the tigress said. "Rika, my blood, my only cub." She stepped closer. Erik didn't flinch, but every cell in his body told him to run. "You gave food. You gave care." Erik nodded carefully. "Kid was starving. I couldn't just leave it, him." The tigress tilted her head again. "You speak as warrior, yet act like Pride Father." Her hand hovered over the hilt of her clawed weapon, part blade, part ceremonial symbol. She looked ready for either mercy or death blow. "Look, I'm not trying to offend anyone," Erik said. "I'm just a crash pilot trying to stay alive." She sniffed the air near him. "You smell of steel, fire, blood, but not predator. Humans don't exactly live in jungles like this." Silence stretched again. Then she spoke, more slowly. "I am Shokari, first claw of the Fireclaw Pride. You have saved my cub. This invokes ancient debt." Erik raised a brow. "Debt?" Shokari nodded solemnly. "You are owed. Protected. One who feeds a pride blood without expectation is marked." "Marked for what, exactly?" Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Depends." Before he could respond, a rustling from the trees broke the standoff. 3 smaller forms, gray-skinned, predatory scavengers with bone spears, emerged from the underbrush. Jungle poachers. Erik recognized their stance instantly. "They've been trailing me," he muttered. "Damn." Shokari bared her fangs. "They want Rika. They smell weakness. No more." The poachers shrieked and charged. Before Erik could lift a hand, Shokari exploded into motion. She launched into the air like a cannon shot, crashing down onto the nearest poacher with a roar that shook the trees. Her claws tore through bone and sinew in a single fluid sweep. The second attacker thrust forward but met her elbow, snapping its jaw sideways. Erik flanked the third, ducking under a clumsy spear and jamming his knife into its ribs. When the skirmish ended, blood soaked the mossy ground. Shokari stewed over one corpse, panting, a sheen of sweat on her striped skin. "You fight," she said between breaths, nodding with respect. "Small weapon, big courage." "Yeah, thanks," Erik said, wiping his blade. "Wasn't exactly a fair fight with you around." She crouched beside Rika, checking him for injuries. He mewed and curled into her arm. Then she stewed and approached Erik again. This time, she did not threaten. "You are not from this world," she said, "but you act with heart of Hunter Father." He sighed, rubbing his face. "I just didn't want the kid to die. That's it." Shokari tilted her head. "In Veriki culture, that is not it. It is everything. Rika's survival ensures Fireclaw lives on." Erik took that in. Slowly. "So now what?" Shokari reached into a pouch and pulled out a dark green fruit, sliced it in half with one claw, and offered a piece to him. "What's this?" "Root fruit of flame vine," she said. "Shared only with those under pride protection. You eat, you walk beside me." "Walk where?" "To the high ridge. My people, they must know the debt. And decide what you are." Erik hesitated. His training said avoid entanglements with alien cultures, especially those with claws. But something deep in him, something lonely, said otherwise. He looked at Rika, nestled in his mother's arms, looking at Erik like he'd hung the stars. He took the fruit and bit. It was tart, sweet, and hot all at once, like biting into something that was alive. Shokari smiled. "Good. You walk now." As the suns dipped behind the thick jungle canopy, the strange trio began their march. A human soldier, an alien cub, and a tigress warrior with secrets in her eyes. Blood and instinct. Jungle Trail, 2 days later. The jungle changed the deeper they traveled. The colors became more vivid, the air thicker. Erik had grown used to the constant drone of alien life. But here, things grew unnaturally quiet. It wasn't silence from fear. It was respect. The creatures of Erik Thorne knew who walked these paths. Shokari led them with a natural grace, barely making a sound. Rika trotted between them, newly bandaged and increasingly energetic. Erik followed at the rear, rifle slung over his back, sweat plastering his shirt to his skin. "You always move this fast." Erik grunted. Shokari turned, one corner of her mouth curling into what might have been a smirk. "Cub is strong now. We waste no time." He caught up. "Strong enough for what?" She looked down at Rika, then back at Erik. "To be seen by the Pride. To prove his savior is not prey." Erik frowned. "You mean me?" She nodded. "Yes. Some will not accept what you did. Feeding a cub may be seen as weakness. Or threat." Erik chuckled dryly. "Of course it is. I saved your kid, so obviously, that's a problem." Shokari stopped and turned fully to face him. "To us, cubs are the soul of the Pride. You touched soul. You changed fate. That scares many." He studied her in the dappled sunlight. Her stripes shimmered like ink on muscle, her eyes fierce and unblinking. She was unlike anything he'd known, wild, proud, dangerous, but with an honor code he was just beginning to understand. "So what exactly am I walking into?" Erik asked. Shokari stepped close, her scent earthy and electric. "If they reject you, you leave with me. Alone. If they accept, you may have place beside me." Erik raised an eyebrow. "Beside you as what?" She didn't answer with words. Instead, she reached up and gently touched his jaw. Claws retracted. It wasn't a threat. It was a choice. Erik's breath hitched, but he didn't pull away. Before anything else could be said, a branch snapped ahead. Shokari was in front of him instantly, blades drawn. From the shadows emerged a group, 5 Veraki warriors, clad in darker armor and bearing a different crest on their chests. Not Fireclaw. One of them, a towering male with jagged facial markings, stepped forward. "Shokari," he growled. "You return with a human. You dishonor your blood." Erik tightened his grip on his rifle. "Well, that's not a great start." Shokari didn't move. "Rika lives. He walks because of this human." The male snarled. "You bring prey into sacred ground. You shame the right." Rika, sensing the tension, hissed and pressed against Erik's leg. The challenger bayed his fangs. "Challenge must be made. Blood must speak." Shokari's eyes narrowed. "Then speak it." The male warrior grinned cruelly. "Tomorrow, at the stone ring, you and your companion, where your cub dies nameless." The warriors vanished into the trees as suddenly as they had appeared. Erik exhaled slowly. "Tell me that wasn't what I think it was." Shokari turned to him, eyes serious. "Blood trial. They question your right to be near the Pride. To protect Rika. To walk with me. Let me guess, fighting to the death." Shokari nodded. "Great." That night, they made camp beneath a canopy of glowing vines. Rika curled beside Erik, snoring softly. Shokari sat across the fire, sharpening her claws on a stone. Erik broke the silence. "I'm not from this world. I don't belong to your Pride. Why risk this for me?" She didn't look up. "You fed my blood without knowing who I was. You treated my cub with care, not fear. That means more than bloodline or law." He hesitated. "And us? What are we?" Shokari finally met his eyes. "You are not Veraki, but you are not prey. You are something else." She stood and approached, kneeling beside him. "Instinct burns in us. But instinct does not control us," she whispered. "You will fight tomorrow, not because I ask it, but because you choose it." She placed one clawed hand over his heart. "And I will fight beside you, not as your protector, as your equal." Erik nodded slowly, heart pounding from more than the heat of the fire. Tomorrow, they would stand together. Blood would spill. But for tonight, they sat as one, warrior and soldier, mother and savior, 2 hearts from different stars, beating in the same rhythm. Hunter and hunted. The stone ring, dawn. The rising suns burned gold across the stone arena carved into the hillside. The stone ring. Massive slabs formed a circle where combat determined honor, fate, and in this case, whether a human could stand beside a tigress of the Fireclaw Pride. Erik adjusted the makeshift armor Shokari had fashioned from jungle hides and scavenged plating. It didn't look like much, but it was light and flexible. He carried his old service rifle, not loaded with real bullets anymore, but with sonic darts he'd jury-rigged. No killing unless absolutely necessary. Across the circle, the challengers stood. Korvac of the Ash Spine, built like a boulder with claws like cleavers. 4 warriors of his clan stood at the edge, watching with cold, silent disdain. Shokari stood at Erik's side, armored and deadly, her blade claws humming with tension. Rika waited behind them, held by an elder female of the Fireclaw. The Pride had gathered in full, hundreds of striped and spotted warriors watching from the edges, towering over Erik. Not one of them looked particularly friendly. Korvac stepped forward. A human cannot bond with a Pride. He is alien, weak, soft. Let blood decide. Shokari snarled. He is stronger than any of you understand. He fights not for himself, but for my cub. For our future. Korvac growled, stepping into the ring. Then he dies for it. A low gong sounded. The trial had begun. Korvac lunged first, faster than Erik expected for something so massive. The ground shook beneath him. Erik rolled aside, feeling claws scrape his shoulder guard. Shokari met Korvac with a roar, blades clashing in a shower of sparks. Erik didn't waste time. He circled wide, scanning the battlefield. Korvac was too strong for brute force, but he was slow to adapt. Erik fired a sonic burst into the stone beside Korvac's feet. The blast sent dust and shards upward, blinding him for a second. Shokari took the opportunity, slashing his thigh open with a clean upward cut. Korvac howled, spinning with a backhand that sent her crashing into the far wall. Shokari! Erik shouted. Korvac turned toward him now, bleeding and enraged. You die next, soft thing. Erik dropped a flashburst grenade. Primitive tech, but effective. It went off with a thunderous pop, disorienting Korvac again. Erik charged, not with strength, but with precision. He jammed the butt of his rifle into Korvac's gut, then rolled under his arm and slashed behind the knee with his knife. The big warrior dropped to one leg, dazed. Shokari was back on her feet, snarling. She leapt, driving both clawed gauntlets down in a blinding strike across Korvac's chest. Blood sprayed across the stones. Korvac collapsed, breathing hard, trying to rise again. Shokari stood over him, panting. She looked to Erik, who gave a slight nod. The message was clear. We end this with honor. She turned to the gathered Pride. He is not prey. He is my chosen. He saved my cub, fought beside me, and stood his ground in your sacred ring. If any still challenge his place, they challenge me. Silence. Then the Fireclaw elder stepped forward. She looked to Erik, then to Rika. The cub purred and ran to Erik, curling around his leg. The elder spoke. Blood is not only born, it is made. She raised one claw and etched a mark onto Erik's shoulder with ceremonial ink. 2 curved lines crossed with a third. The Fireclaw sigil. Gasps and growls of recognition rippled through the crowd. You walk with us now, human. Erik let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Shokari touched his hand, just once, but the meaning was unmistakable. That night, the jungle roared with celebration. Fires burned high. Meat roasted over flame. Warriors danced. Rika sat proudly on Erik's shoulders, mimicking battle cries. He laughed, and the sound surprised even himself. Shokari approached, dressed not in armor now, but in ceremonial cloth and silver rings along her arms and ears. Her wild beauty hadn't dulled, it had sharpened. She stood beside him and spoke softly. You could return to your people now. Earth must call you. I'm not going anywhere, Erik said. They sent out a beacon. I ignored it. She looked at him, eyes gleaming. You choose the jungle. He nodded. I choose you. I choose this. She leaned in and touched her forehead to his. You are no longer outsider, she whispered. You are Fireclaw. As the jungle sang around them, Erik realized that his crash landing had never been an accident. It was an arrival. Final line. He fed a starving cub once. Now he had a pride, a purpose, and a tigress warrior who'd fight with him, and for him, until her last breath.